Okay, g'day all, welcome to another video. A couple of announcements first. I've decided that it would be really cool to start a Direct3D series pretty soon. So I thought what might be a good idea is to put it up as a goal on Patreon. Yeah, so if I reach a certain number of supporters on Patreon, then we'll start the Direct3D videos. Otherwise I might start at some point in the future, you know, I don't know, sometime. Anyway, Direct3D looks really complicated, but I tell you what, it's not that hard, really. Yeah, I think it'd be a good opportunity too for me to expand on what I did for an ebook a while back for SyncFusion. I think it's called Direct3D Succinctly. Anyway, if you're interested in me sharing some Direct3D videos, head over to Patreon page and become a patron. A patron. And the other thing is, this is just low of me, I know, but this is the level that I'll stoop to get you to go to Patreon. I've added a photo of myself, so if you ever wondered what What's a Creel looks like, head over to Patreon and wonder no more. It's low, I know, I don't care. Okay, but on to today's video. This is going to be unreal. So we're going to start moving towards a game engine in our Direct2D. So what we had before was just the scruffles of a useless engine, really. It was a main method and half of a graphics class. It's not really going to work in the long run, so we're going to shake things up. What we're going to start doing is making an engine. You could put a lot of the classes that we're working on today into their own folder. This is what I usually do. I've got a folder of a 2D engine, and that way you can just reuse the code over and over again. You don't want to rewrite the code for starting DirectX up and that sort of stuff. It's it's boring and it doesn't change. So that back end sort of boilerplate stuff, put it in an engine and forget about it. So today's video, the only specific files that would be specific to a game, that wouldn't be part of the engine, would be the levels, but we'll have a look at all that in just a second. Okay, so what we're sort of talking about today is just multiple levels. If you've ever noticed, when you play a game, there's usually more than one logical screen. So they'll have menu screens or different levels, maybe a high score, Hall of Fame or whatever. It's easier to implement this level switching structure now than it is later on, so we're going to do it right at the very start. And the other really good thing about splitting up a game into levels is just that we don't have to read through thousands of lines of Windows code or DirectX code when we program our levels. It makes things a lot more maintainable. So what we're going to do today is abstract ourselves away from all that boilerplate code, because it's horrible, quite frankly. The other thing that we want to do is make it so that when we're programming, say, the start screen of our game, the start menu that says play game or help or whatever, we don't want to have to wade through all of level 1's code and level 2's code. We don't want to stick everything in the same place, because that's just really silly. Good. Okay, so main.cbp, this is what we're going to use main for. The main method is eventually going to be set up so that we don't really have to look at it. It's boilerplate, it's back end, and it's used to start things up, basically. I'm sure you all know what the main method is for. It also grabs the events that happen. So when the user types on the keyboard or moves the mouse around, well, it's the main method that owns the window. So the main method's actually going to route those events to whatever our level is. We'll see how all this works maybe next shoot or the shoot after, when we look at capturing keyboard and mouse. Yeah, but the main method is mostly boilerplate, so we won't be looking at that a lot after we've got it set up. I don't know if we'll set it up completely today. No, we won't, because we're not looking at input. Alright, but the next class, the graphics class. So we had a bit of a crack at writing a dodgy graphics class. It will change a fair bit in the upcoming videos, but eventually the graphics class to the engine is boilerplate as well. Once we add sort of drawing and scaling sprites and things like that, yeah, we don't have to worry about the graphics class too much either. But the graphics class, as you probably guessed, it's the part of our program that interfaces with DirectX. Yeah. We've coded some of it already. The game controller. Okay, so we start to get into the things that I just personally do myself, and I don't know, there must be a million ways to do this, but this is just what I like to do. I like to use a Singleton class called a game controller, and the job of the controller is to switch screens and route the render and update method calls from main. So it's the main method that's actually got the main loop, And the main method, as we saw last time, actually has the update and render calls in it. And it's also got the Windows function, which captures the input from the keyboard and the mouse. But the main method is going to route all of that stuff to the game controller, and the game controller is going to route the messages and the update calls and the render calls to the level that's currently being played. I hope that makes a bit of sense. Yeah, it should in the long run. At the end of today's video, that should make sense. But the game controller also does the switching between levels. Yeah, so if you're at the start screen and you want to run level 1, well, what you would do is you would, from the start screen, tell the game controller to load level 1, and the game controller would unload the start screen, load level 1, and start running that. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, but to do that we also need this abstract class called GameLevel. So GameLevel is just a logical screen, anything at all. It doesn't have to be a level, it could be a high score screen or a start screen or even a goodbye screen when the user quits your game. That sort of thing, so anything at all, it doesn't have to be a level. The way that we're going to make this, the main method is actually going to load one level, so level 1. Yeah, I'm going to call it level 1. It could be called whatever you want. Maybe menu screen or something would be better. But the main method, even though it's back-end and boilerplate, it is going to load one level. So yeah, one of your level files has to have a certain class name in it, otherwise main's going to load the wrong thing. It's an abstract class, GameLevel, and it's got these 4 methods: load, unload, render, and update. Load is where it's going to load all of its resources. Unload is where it's going to unload all of its resources. Render is obviously where it draws the pictures, and update is where it changes all of the X and Y values of the monsters that are trying to attack you. Okay, so that's it for the slides. They're pretty brief. If that didn't make any sense, hopefully it'll make sense in just a little while when we get to coding. I'll see you in a bit in C++. Okay, well here we are in Visual Studio. I don't know how much sense any of that made, but hopefully it'll start to make a bit of sense now. So the first thing that we can do is just delete that random comment in the window proc. We don't need that. And we're going to change it so that this Y speed and Y and all of this business about drawing the circle and updating the circle, we're going to change it so that that belongs to a level class. Yeah, it's not going to look any different, but it's going to be different at the back end. It's going to be much more flexible. Alrighty, but what are we going to do for the start? Well, I think maybe the first thing we should do is create a game level class. Yeah, we'll create a game level class. So game level. Okay, and pragma once class game level. And this is an abstract class. You're not meant to make one of these, so it's going to have virtual void load equals 0. It's going to have 4 methods basically. Load, there's unload, render, and update. Yeah, I think our update method will eventually have timing. Yeah, you've got this time total and time delta things, but at the moment we'll just keep it as you know, the fastest frame rate we possibly can, which is, you know, not real good, but anyway. Okay, that's pretty good. What after that? Game controller. Okay, so we've got to make a game controller class that's going to switch between the levels. So if we come back here to add a file, we'll go game controller. Okay, and include, well, pragma once first, bro. Pragma once. It's going to include game level. Class game controller. Now this could be a namespace, but I'm going to use a Singleton class, and you can make a class Singleton. I mean, you can enforce that there's only one static version of a class if you put the constructor in a private. Yeah. Game controller. What have I seem to have lost my brackets? Game controller. Game controller. Yeah, so now you can't make one of these. Yeah, you can't make a game controller, so I'll make everything else public and static. It's just another way of using something similar to a namespace, I guess. It's a Singleton class. game level, current level. Do you know what? That could probably be private as well. Yeah, but it's static. Okay, static there. That's whatever level we're currently running. And what else are we going to need? Void load initial. My spelling today is just initial. Load initial level. Game level star. We'll just call it lev. What else are we going to need? Void switch level. Yep, and that's going to take a game level as well. And what else do we need? I can't think. I think that's just about it. Okay, but they're static too. Everything's static in this class. Everything in my game controller class is going to be completely static. Okay, let's go over to a C++ file, CPP file for the game controller, and just specify what those things are. So include game controller, and if I just copy them from here, we don't need public there. Okay, so game level star, that's game controller. Here we go. This one is game controller as well. My mouse is on the blink, so maybe it won't work. Oh no, it's working. Okay, so what does load initial level do? Well, that's a good question. I reckon load initial level would say current level equals lev, and current level load. Yeah, something like that. I think maybe here in game level we might actually add a bool loading. Yeah, and I might say right here lev.loading, well, equals true, and lev loading equals false. Okay, we don't want to be running our render and update method while the level is loading. Yeah, so that's what that bool is for. Anyway, I think that'll work out. I'm not sure. I'm not real sure. That's good. What am I doing? Lev loading equals true. So this is when you switch levels. Yes, current level unload, so the current level has to unload. I actually think maybe the loading should just belong to the game controller. Bell. Oh. Thanks, IntelliSense. Yeah, it should just belong to the game controller because we don't want to draw anything. You know, we don't want to draw current level or lev while it's loading, so we might as well make it static, part of the game controller. I'll make it public too. That's probably a little bit silly, but I'll do it anyway. Bool, what's this? Loading. Yeah, so whenever that's set to true, main won't call to update. Yeah, or render. Anyway, loading is true, so that unloads, current level unloads, lev loads, we delete current level, and current level equals lev, and finally loading equals false. Loadinging. I can't believe what I'm typing today. Very, very odd. Anyway, that's pretty good. So now that we've got our game controller and our... We might add render. Yes, static void render. And static void update. Okay, the render and update methods are going to be passed from main, and all that the game controller has to do is pass them on to the current level. So current level render. That's it. and void, what's the other one? GameController. Well, update. Yeah, that's the one. Current level update. I guess here would be a good place to, if loading, return. Yeah, so if it's loading, then we don't want to update or render. I think that'll work out. Yeah, we might actually have to set the current level to 0 initially and loading to true. I'm not sure, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so the next thing that we've got to do is, do you know what? I'll do it now. Yeah, I'll do it now. No use waiting. If you've got to do something, you'd be best off doing it now. So void, I'll say init. Okay, I'll just say init will be the name of it. Initialize. Initialize the game controller. Okay, loading equals true so that we're not rendering anything, and we also want to current level equals 0 or null. The next thing that we should do is add a level. So new item, this is going to be Unreal, this level. I'm going to call this level 1. Okay, and it's going to have Pagma. It's just going to have random letters at the top. Pragma once, class, level 1. It's going to inherit from old mate, game level, and it's going to do that publicly. Okay, so far so good, and public. And it's going to have the stuff from the main method that we had in here to draw the circle. So Y and Y speed, if I just cut that and put it up here. Okay, and it's also going to override those 4 methods from the game level. Yeah, so I'll just grab those. Oh, we can get rid of this bool loading as well. I'm all over the place today. Do you know it's really, really hot? Maybe that's what it is. I'm just about to pass out from heat stroke. Oh, overrode. Okay, that's good. Get rid of that, get rid of that, and get rid of this, and get rid of this. So this will be the first level of our game. The way that I'll set it up, the main method will actually load this level called level 1. But you might want to set it up so that the first level that main automatically loads is called something like start screen. I don't know, it's completely up to you. Anyway, if we just add a new item and we make a source file for that, so level 1. And the first thing it can include is level 1. It's also got to include game controller, just in case it wants to switch levels. And let's just make copies of these. So load gets called when the level first loads. That's where we'll set the initial values and the initial state for our level. And I think that's pretty easy for us. That's just going to be 0 for the Y and 0 for the Y speed. Y speed. What's the matter? Oh. Level 1. Level 12. Okay, level 1. That's better. Let's just copy and paste that level 1 here so that I don't do exactly the same thing in 2 seconds time. Unload, we're not going to unload anything at the moment. Render, we're going to render something though, so the render method, I might switch these around. I always put my update method above my render, I don't know why. Update's not going to do anything, but render is going to do... oh, sorry, update is going to do something. Update's going to do this. There you go, copy that over to update. You see, so it's going to be the same silly looking bouncing ball that we had last time. And render is going to do this. I might actually get rid of that begin and end draw just there. Yeah, because I want my main method to do that, or my game controller maybe. Main method. Yeah, I'll get my main method to do that, just so I don't have to worry about calling it all the time. 375. Okay, so that's just going to render the ball where it was, except that it doesn't know what graphics is. Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't really, would it? Okay, well I'll include graphics and we might just pass it. Graphics star, GFX. How do you like those bananas? GFX, GFX. Yeah, it likes it a lot, except that this is not the same as its definition. Okay, sorry about all that, and I better change the definition in game level as well. And game level doesn't know what graphics is either. You sure you know how to program? Of course I do. Okay, so what have we got? What have we got? This is getting very, very cool. Main method, include level 1. Because down here somewhere, after you've shown your window, we want to level, well, now, okay, main method also includes game controller, that's it, and game controller, load initial level, new level 1. Yeah, just like that. So after the game controller has loaded the level, when we're down here in our update and render method, all we got to do is pass those to the game controller. So game controller update, and here game controller render. Now I'm not sure, but I think we might have just about done it, so let's just hit play and see what, if anything, happens. Would you like to run from the last? No thanks. Game something function doesn't take, oh yeah, render takes that graphics class, so we better pass it graphics. There you go. Well, what's it called? Well, sure it was called graphics. It is called graphics. Too many arguments. Not enough first, too many. Game controller render. Oh, of course. Alright. Graphics star GFX. I should have thought about passing this graphics thing around already, but I don't know, I didn't. So then I've got to change the game controller in the header as well. Here, graphics star GFX, and this will have to include graphics. Just a bit of a schmozzle, but no, you forgot one of those, did I? Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. 2 bugs is not too bad, not too bad. So we go. Ah, there we go. Okay, so that was a complete nasty mess, and sorry about that. I just forgot that I'd need to pass that graphics pointer around. But there's our bouncing ball. It looks exactly the same, but the difference now is that we could easily make a second level and have, say, a bouncing square. It's only going to get better from here. See you later. Thanks for watching as well.